Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at the Demco Air Force One supplemental braking system. And this kit is going to be specifically designed for Freightliner chassis that are prepped, and that makes the installation a lot easier. So it's going to include all of the things necessary to get the towed vehicle set up and also the airline, and that way you can plug into the port that's already on the back of your RV to get that air pressure sent to the brake cylinder and get your vehicle slowing and stopping when you apply the brakes on the RV. Now, it's very important to check to make sure that your Freightliner chassis is prepped, and the best way to do that is look at your 7-pole, and somewhere in the hitch area you're going to find a quick connect that should look like this. It may have a cap on it, but if you have this in place from the factory, you're in luck, because that makes the installation quite a bit easier and just specific to the vehicle, whereas many other times if your RV is not prepped, you're installing a tank underneath it and it becomes a little bit more lengthy of an install. But this kit is going to make sure that you have the proper push connect fitting to be able to attach this to get the air pressure to send to your braking system. So once you determine that you have the proper setup on your RV side, we'll break down the kit to show you what it does. So most importantly, when you have air brakes on your coach, you're going to be using that air pressure to apply a brake pressure on the vehicle and eventually to a cylinder mounted on the brake pedal, and that way when you apply the brakes on the RV, it will proportionally brake and slow and stop whenever you're applying those brakes. Two of the components that are going to be included in the kit are going to be your breakaway switch, which is something that you'll find in every braking system, and this is just last line of defense. If everything was to fail, it'll pull this cable and apply the brakes, and you may be thinking, well, how does that work if there's no air pressure, if it's disconnected? But there is enough stored to bring the vehicle to a stop if this was to ever pull. Now you also have your fitting here to connect to the air pressure from the RV, and this will just have 1/4-inch airline tube that'll run up to our main unit and 2 wires from our breakaway switch. And that's kind of the glory of this system. There's not a whole lot of electrical involved. The air pressure does a lot of the heavy lifting. Our main unit, which is going to be the brains of the operation, is really just a distribution box for our air pressure, and it's a relatively small footprint, making it really easy to mount up in most vehicles inside of the engine bay. So we were able to mount it up here on the cowl, but really any place that you can find to mount this is going to work out just fine in the engine bay. And as I mentioned, that air fitting in the front, that 1/4-inch airline tube is going to feed into the air in. We also have air out, which will eventually feed to our cylinder that applies the brake pressure. Now we also have a barb fitting that goes to vacuum, and this taps into your factory brake booster, but not to worry, if you have electric assist brakes, this will still work with it. But this is going to allow us to have a clean supply of air to pull from to be able to apply those brakes and also release that pressure so our cylinder can work properly. All of the braking will be done by our cylinder that's mounted to the brake pedal and anchored to the firewall. So when air pressure is sent in, it'll extend that cylinder, bringing the brake pedal closer to the firewall, which brings the vehicle to a slower stop. A nice addition on the Air Force One is going to be the reed switch that comes pre-installed on our cylinder, and that makes it to where you don't need a stoplight switch. Many other vehicles, you'll have to pick up a separate plunger that essentially says when the brake pedal is being applied. Well, the reed switch takes care of that by knowing exactly when that cylinder is extended, and that makes it a lot easier and one less component that you'll have to pick up to get the indication of braking. And that indication of braking is done via a wireless transmitter called the Coach Link. And what's really nice about that is it comes with this monitor light that you can put on the dash on your RV. So you kind of get a heads up display when you apply the brakes. It'll light up, letting you know that the brakes are being applied. It'll also tell you if the brakes are dragging. If you have those brakes on there for more than 5 seconds, it's going to give you an audible alarm, which is a good notification that your brakes are dragging. Now you can shut that off, but it is a good way to know immediately what's going on with your towed vehicle. Now it's really cool that a lot of newer coach builders, including Freightliner, are putting a factory prepped air fitting, because many people with air brakes on their coach want to flat tow a vehicle, and predominantly with older ones you have to install a tank and cut into your supply and metered air for that to be able to send the pressure regulated back to the Air Force One. But the fact that it's prepped from the factory makes it super easy. There's no having to do anything on the RV side except plug in that fitting and plug in your wireless coach link. The rest of the vehicle side is pretty tried and true. We've done plenty of installations on a bunch of different vehicles, so we'll have installation videos on all of those. And really, this is a great system if you have air brakes on your coach. If you're kind of tired of that portable system or don't want to have to deal with setting it up and storing it each time, the Air Force One is hands down the one that I recommend, as well as many of the other installers here at eTrailer. So hopefully this helps you decide if this is going to be the braking system for your flat-toed vehicle with your Freightliner chassis.